All right, we're here joined by our representatives from Harvard, continuing our EIVA Media Day. Coach Brian, would you go ahead and introduce yourselves?
Hi, I'm Brian Days. I'm the Harvard men's volleyball head coach.
Hi, my name is Brian Thomas, and I'm currently a senior middle blocker on the team.
All right, I'll go ahead and get started because, a lot of these interviews have been before the season, but we are right in the midst of January volleyball right now. You guys just got back from Santa Barbara for the ASICS Invitational. Coach, go ahead and tell me what it's like to be able to participate for one in that kind of tournament and what you've learned from your team through those 3 games of the season.
Yeah, we love that tournament. We've played in it a number of times now. Anytime you get three quality matches like that early in the season in one location is really helpful to us. Santa Barbara is a great host, and Rick and his guys make it easy, and it's a great environment to play in. So we love to do it when we can. And we learned a ton. And about our God and where we are, what our strengths are, what our weaknesses are, and what we've got to build on. And you learn a lot playing teams of that caliber. And this past weekend was no exception.
Yeah. This Harvard team went from 7 seniors to 2 seniors in between the 2025 and 2026 season. Brian, you are one of those seniors. What can you say after a breakout year as a junior? What you've been able to build on going into your senior season?
Yeah, definitely a massive transition, when you graduate half the team. But I think it's really exciting what we've been able to accomplish this year. I think we are returning a very strong core that has really kind of brought the same energy we finished last year with into this year. And on top of that, we do have 5 freshmen. So definitely not short on guys, which was a concern going into the year. And all 5 of them have really been so eager to work hard, hit the ground running. And I think just kind of through leadership, both of sort of myself, Zach Birdie, the other senior captain, and the other juniors and upperclassmen, the freshmen really have sort of picked it up very fast, which has been great to see. So we've really been able to kind of catch them up and pick up right where we left off.
Yeah. Coach, it's kind of the same question. A young team, 5 freshmen. Obviously, with every season comes new hurdles. But again, graduating half of your team, 5 freshmen. What are some of those hurdles that you've found so far this season? And with such a young team, you're getting these guys in situations where they're going to have to learn fast and be a big part of this team's success this year.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So very different challenges. Starting the year with a team with 7 seniors, right, versus a team with 5 freshmen. For us, we've got 12 guys in the roster, so it's a very high percentage of first year players, and certainly pros and cons to that. The energy is incredible, and they're eager to learn. Work ethic is great. But yes, it's going to be a different learning curve for sure. And I will say, we leaned on and we'll continue to lean on Brian and Zach here for a lot of that culture building and team building that has to go on when you have such a high percentage of new players and new players on the court and obviously off the court too. And explaining them and sharing with them what our values are as a program and how it's important to us how we grow together and the direction we go in and that's partly coaching and that's a lot on the upperclassmen and Brian and Zach have been extraordinary in that way as of our other juniors as well and so I feel pretty good about where we are, well, quite good about where we are as a team in terms of our dynamic and our culture and obviously I think the bigger questions for us right now are how are we going to grow on the court, I think, and so we're competitive here in the EIVA, most particularly going, in the playoffs and in April.
Yeah. Obviously, we've talked about Brian a little bit. Let's talk about him a little bit more. Senior this year, last year you've paid your dues as a freshman and a sophomore, but finally junior year was your year. A lot of games played, a lot of kills, a lot of roll. But now as a senior, you can kind of shepherd the freshman coming in. What has he done as both as an athlete and as a leader to kind of help these new players that haven't been in this position before?
Well, he'd probably be the best one to answer that. But I will say that the leadership by example, is where it starts. The care that he and Zach, have for this program and what we're about is I think most important, right? And that becomes I think it's clear to the guy, as we say early in September, what these first years know about Harvard. The only thing they know about Harvard volleyball is what these guys show them. And so coaches can talk a lot and say a lot of things, but if the upperclassmen don't embody those values and lead by example, it's not going to go very far. So to me, that's the job Ron's done and Zach have done here, and I think I think if you saw in our practice today and how these guys compete and carry each other on and off the court, I think it would be quite clear to how good a job they're doing.
Well, Brian, he says you can answer that question better. What is it like being in that gym day in day out, being on the court with these guys, taking a trip like this UC Santa Barbara trip as a learning experience going forward into this season?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think touching on the first part about kind of sort of teaching and showing the ropes to the new guys, I think they've actually made it especially easy for us. I think the upperclassmen do a really good job kind of holding ourselves and each other accountable to sort of representing the work ethic and culture that Harvard volleyball strives to maintain. And from there, I really think all credit goes to the new guys. They've just really picked it up, been watching us and kind of adopting our mindset, which has been awesome to see. And yeah, as you mentioned, the A6 Invitational was an incredible learning experience. I think we learned about sort of our identity and both, of course, the technical volleyball skills that we want to focus on, but beyond that, just sort of the energy and the intangibles that we're going to need if we want to take the AIVA championship. So I think it was incredibly instrumental for that.
Coach, you got a lot of matchups this season. Obviously, you've got a match against BYU. You face off against a brand new program in Manhattan this upcoming week. McKendree later down the season, and then an EIVA schedule that has a lot of competitive teams this year. What about this conference through your time in the EIVA? Have you seen grow? Have you seen develop the sport? And what about the EIVA makes it so special?
Yeah, so this is right year 18 for me, and I played in the IVA, so I have been around quite a long time, and it certainly has changed a lot. Uh, I would say, my feeling is that the biggest change sort of on the court, and I don't know if the other coaches echoed this or not, it's just um, the overall level of play, and the level of competition between the teams has never been higher and I guess more competitive. Probably could say that more articulately. So for many many years, and it was Penn State and everyone else, and that's not the case anymore. And I don't think it's that Penn State isn't as dominant as they used to be, but I think they everyone else is playing better than ever. And I think the level of play is gone up and is more balanced. It's a great group of coaches right now. And so, obviously Penn State won it last year, and you go into Rec Hall and you see all those banners up there. We're always, gunning for those guys, of course. But I think I think it's an open league this year, as it has been the last few years, and which makes it certainly a lot of fun for us. And we'll see. It's a lot of new faces, on the court for most teams. I think maybe Penn State is the one exception returning really their core group. And so we'll see what we can do. We can do against those guys, but that's the biggest difference. I think the level of play and just the sense that there are a lot of competitive matches now, and not just trying to take down Penn State.
Yeah, I have to ask because you're not the only former head coach or former player that's now coaching in the EIVA. Obviously, Coach Adam out of Sacred Heart, we
Yep.
had a conversation where he's most looking forward to getting revenge against Penn State in Coach Pav's last season. What are you most looking forward to in this year, and what can you say about your experience as a player and now as a head coach in the EIVA?
Yeah, well, revenge sounds great against Penn State and Pav. I'd love to send him out, with a couple losses to the Crimson. That sounds like a lot of fun. I guess I'm most looking forward to seeing how we match up against all these teams, and we talked about a lot of new faces on our roster, and to be honest, I have no idea what to expect. I know the promise and the potential of this team, but I'm very eager to see how we handle ourselves in league competition and league play, and so I'll start with that. Obviously, as a Princeton alum, those matches are always circled on my personal calendar, and it's a great rivalry every year, and but it's going to be I think a very interesting and engaging and fun year in the IVA.
Well, you'll be good to know, happy to know that Coach Sam said the same thing that Princeton Harvard's
Yes,
always circled on
right.
that roster.
Revenge there sounds good too.
I bet. I bet. Now, Brian, one thing stands out to me when you look at your profile on the Harvard website. It says 7 foot next to your name. What is it like being a 7 foot middle blocker in men's volleyball? The pros, the cons. I'm not anywhere close to 7 foot. So, well, from the mouth of his own, what is it like being a 7 foot middle blocker?
It's not too bad. I think from a volleyball standpoint, definitely more pros. I think there are definitely a lot of plays where I may not move my feet or get faked out by the setter or something like that, and I'm able to make up for it just with sheer length and kind of being able to reach over. So I think definitely, especially as a middle, it helps me a lot in getting soft blocks and stuff like that. Of course, the flip side is, after I serve a ball and I'm in left back, sometimes getting low, especially if they're running like a quick middle attack, can be a little tricky. Still working on that one, but definitely more pros than cons, I think.
Coach Pace, are you getting them out on the beach? I mean, there may not be a lot of beaches in Boston, but there's definitely grass volleyball. Are you trying to encourage your players to get out and have that parity in their athleticism?
Always, especially this time of year, right? It's 23 degrees out. I love to see them out there on the sand or the grass.
I love that. So going forward, looking for your matches against BYU at home, and then you go to McKendree for a little MIVA competition. What about those matches that you looked preseason schedule and like I want to play those teams?
Yeah, we've never been to McKendree, and they came to us a few years ago, and I knew we'd get two really good matches. I think in the middle of our season, and I think all the coaches and teams enjoy those mid-season non-conference matches because it just gives you a chance to do some different things and maybe try some different lineups. As you go into the second half of league play, and we went to BYU for the first time in our program history last year, and they said they'd come back to us, and so they're going to be here for what we call our Harvard Invitational and play us on Saturday, and Lincoln Memorial on Friday, and then Merrimack is the fourth team in that tournament. So, anytime you have a team like BYU coming to play your gym, I know they travel well. It's going to be a big crowd. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned the two other teams in Merrimack and LMU, members of the IVA, of course. What does it mean to give them an opportunity? Obviously, we love the Harvard ESPN Plus broadcast, being able to give them a chance to play on a nationally broadcasted game.
Yeah, it's an easy one for us. They're close by, but they've just been playing great volleyball for years, and I know Ray moved on, but we saw them this fall, and they've got some athletes in the gym, I think they've earned that spot, and I think they're going to compete quite well.
Yeah. And then Brian, we talk about the ESPN Plus broadcast, but when fans turn on that game, whether it be against BYU, whether it be any of the number of games that you guys play in the EIVA this season, what should fans expect when they tune into a Harvard men's volleyball game?
Yeah, I mean, I think the big thing is they should expect to be a little surprised. I think we're definitely a little under the radar, which is a good place to kind of start the season because it's exciting being in that position to really have competitive matches with very talented teams. And I think sort of all the work we've been putting in on kind of the little things, just that dig or die mindset, making sure our high ball setting is on point. Just small points like that are really going to shine through, especially as we compete against these teams that have massive rosters and a lot more recruiting power than a school like Harvard. I think it's going to be really cool to see us up there, kind of hanging with the best.
And coach, obviously you've got the player in Brian right next to you, but what other players on this Harvard team should we be looking out for this season?
Yeah, well, Zach Birdie is our other senior, other captain. He's been a 4-year starter for us. I think he's been a good player for us for years, but I think he's really ready to carry a big offensive load. We need a guy who in the last few minutes or points of a set, wants that responsibility and we can give the ball to and know that he's ready and when it's 23 all, who are we going to go to? And I think he's ready to be that guy. Owen Wilbert, this will be his 3rd year starting for us at middle and playing better than ever. Has been a great blocker now for years but we're going to look to him certainly for bigger part of our offense and serve receive is important for everyone. Thomas Fung's a great sophomore libero for us and we're certainly looking to him to cover a lot of court.
Well, you mentioned Thomas Fung. He has the ability to be in the USA gym this past summer. What about that type of off season reps are just so valuable when you have an athlete like that in your program, getting a chance to compete in a national team gym.
Yeah, I'll say it, and Brian can chime in too. But yes, that experience he gets in that gym, playing internationally is invaluable. Thomas is such a student of the game. Not only how you play the game, but who is playing the game and where. I mean, his knowledge of the current volleyball world is second to none as far as I can tell. Loves the game, a true student of the game, and so he brings, even separate from that international experience, brings so much to our gym. But yeah, the fact that he was got to train all summer against elite competition is only helped him sort of take his game to the next level, and so he's playing better than ever. He's ready.
Well, and to move on from the athletes on your roster, you've got a pair of former athletes as your assistant coaches. What about bringing in, former athletes that know this program, know how to win, know how the team operates, to help Harvard men's volleyball succeed?
Yeah, Chase is year 3 here, and has been. I mean, I knew he'd be a great coach, and has only exceeded expectations. And for a young guy starting out his career, he does it all for us, and a great volleyball mind, tireless work ethic, great energy in the gym. Incredible communicator and I'd be curious to get Brian's thoughts on how much these guys appreciate Chase and Will is with us too as a part-time assistant. He's a business school here and is giving us a lot of time as well but yes, to have guys in the coaching staff who know this culture. Chase is part of the team in 2018 that won the AVA championship. So incredibly important to have those guys as role models and coaches and teachers for this group.
Brian, go ahead. What about those assistant coaches? What about, again, those off-season reps are so important to a team like this?
Yeah, definitely. I think Coach Bay's really hit the nail on the head, but I think especially with how unique of an experience being a Harvard student athlete is, it really, really helps to have someone who has done it and understands it. And then again, of course, as Coach mentioned, having someone who has won at, the EIVA championships and has that experience is so incredibly valuable. And I really do think like Coach Chase has sort of taken that next step with sort of his work ethic. He's always hosting film office hours, like making the time on his calendar for the players and doing what's best for us and really sort of giving us all the tools we need to succeed. And I know we all really, really appreciate that. And then, of course, with Will Sorensen, it's the exact same story. So me and Zach Birdie overlapped with him for 1 year, and he was our sort of senior captain when we came in as freshmen. So definitely kind of a cool full circle moment. But I know even as a player, Will is just such a role model to everyone around him. And as Zach and I were kind of approaching this year and stepping into that role of being senior captains, we kept sort of circling back to like, we want to be like Will. So now having him as a coach has been incredible. And both of our assistant coaches also like come to the weight room with us and will work out with us every single time. All those little things to really just get to know us, make sure we have everything we need to succeed and really go the extra mile, which has been so, so special and such a difference maker.
Yeah, and you mentioned it a little bit, but how the back and forth of being a Harvard student, but also a Harvard student athlete. Let us in a little bit on what it's like to rep the name on the chest, being a Harvard student and also an athlete. What is it like? As somebody who didn't go to an Ivy League school, but would appreciate the insight on what it's like to be a student athlete at Harvard.
Yeah, definitely. It is such a cool experience. I think Harvard does a really good job of holding their athletes to a high standard, both sort of academically and athletically, which of course makes it a little busy at times. And I think there is definitely a learning curve in your first year as you learn how to navigate sort of balancing a full course load, recruiting for jobs and internships and all that with, of course, being in season, especially in the spring when it's the busiest. I think it is kind of nice that we're a spring sport, so we can kind of get used to it and dip our toes in the water a little during the fall when volleyball's maybe not taking up as much of our calendar. But in the spring, it definitely requires a lot of time management and at times a little bit of just grit as you kind of power through, especially during midterm season when, the volleyball season is also kind of at its peak. But I think, of course, the flip side of that is it is one of the most rewarding experiences ever. Being able to receive such a, you know, incredible education while also being able to play volleyball at such a high level with a group of people that are as motivated as this team is has been like genuinely the coolest thing ever. So it's really, really special.
And Coach Vase, you have a plethora of either AVCA or EIVA academic team members. How is it as a coach being able to understand what comes with an academic schedule like coaching at Harvard? Obviously, you've done it for 18 years at this point, but just talk about how you manage a schedule like that.
Yeah, certainly. I think if you're gonna be a coach here for a long time, you've got to learn how to strike that balance and really to permit your guys to strike that balance. It's a point of pride for us, for these guys doing well in the classroom as well as on the court. We work hard never to make an excuse either, for us not playing well because of school or not doing well in school because of volleyball. And I will say that part of the job I find easier, I think, than some people think, only because these guys are so driven, obviously very talented, very motivated. I'm not worried about who's going to be eligible and when, and these guys are doing, take that part of their lives seriously, and they know big picture what the Harvard degree and education experience here is going to do for them, and that's something that they are very serious about, very important to them, so it's a great balance, and I think when it's done well, they each contributes to the other as opposed to taking away from it.
Well, you mentioned it's not the hardest thing or hardest part of the job. What would be the hardest part of a job for coaching at Harvard's men's volleyball?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think the biggest challenge for us is just how to compete over the course of a season with a small roster. Certainly this year, 12 guys, so it changes the way we train. You've got a guy say with a class conflict or a sprained ankle or a concussion, so Chase and Will and I spend a lot of time figuring out how to push our guys and also how much we can push them in practice. Coaching, practice gym with 12 guys is a different number of reps in a different environment than a gym with 18. And so that's the challenge. Every year is a little different in terms of the challenge, but the challenge this year is how can we be healthy and playing our best in April with this group, and with a smaller group, making sure we're trained but also still fresh.
I'm sure those Harvard PTs are prime of the cream of the crop. Um,
They're great. They're working hard.
I bet. And to kind of wrap us up here, what would your message be to teams that may see Harvard as a team again that graduated 7 guys, comes in a lot of young experience players that shouldn't go underlooked in this EIVA conference this season. This is to both of you as well.
I guess I'll say I love to be underestimated, so I won't tell them, too much more. That's fine. That's fine with us, and we love to surprise teams. But yeah, I think you know, um, yeah, I think we've worked a lot in our offense this fall, and I think we're gonna be scoring points at a higher rate than people might think is certainly our hope and maybe our prediction. And I'd like to think that we're better in the back row and in defense. I think if we can scrap and show some determination in that part of the game, I think we'll be all right.
I think I'd have a pretty similar answer. I think last year really demonstrated how open the EIVA is, as we were kind of talking about earlier. No team came into playoffs undefeated, and the 3 seed in Penn State ends up taking it. So I think really just, yeah, as Coach said, keep underestimating us. And when it comes to April, I think we're really going to turn some heads, surprise some people, and hopefully make a run.
Well, again, I appreciate you guys coming on. I'm in Syracuse, so a drive to Boston, I welcome it. So hopefully I'll be able to make it down to Boston once in a while this season, and look forward to seeing you guys play this year. So I appreciate you guys coming on and taking the time and out of your busy schedule, especially right after an away tournament to do this interview. And best of luck this season, guys.
Thanks, Joe. We
Yeah.
appreciate your interest and time as well.
Of
Thanks so
course,
much. It was great to meet you.
of course. Take it easy, y'all.